Welcome to episode 50 of Masters of the Forge. I'm Adam, and with me is Snorre. Hi, Snorre.
Hello.
Oh boy, so 50 episodes. Pretty exciting. Super exciting.
Yay. Where's my birthday cake?
I know, right? Where's my birthday cake? Actually, I don't need more cake. I had some chocolate cream pie last night. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I celebrated with a smoothie, a banana peach smoothie here this morning.
Excellent. So, yeah, 50 episodes, 2 years of chewing satisfaction. So,
yeah, I guess we're doing something right since we still have listeners.
yeah, I guess so. I guess people enjoy the show. Really happy. I'm going to knock on wood here. There we go. That's good. Yeah. Oh. So I don't know. We haven't put out any kind of favorite episode kind of questionnaire yet. I think I'll probably do that later. Really interested in seeing how this year stacks up against last year.
Hopefully we've avoided the whole oh, please don't do another metasode. Because we haven't done any more metasodes.
We have not done any metasodes since then. We've done some meta things, but not like a metasode. So we'll also put together another annual for 2015 to 2016. I'm not sure if we should keep going with the annual idea or combine things into supplements. Like instead of having 2015 to 2016, maybe all the missions should be put in one document and like all the
ye old book of campaigns.
Yeah, and put them together that way instead of as annuals. I don't know.
User input.
Yes, exactly. User input would be great.
What do you want?
What would you like to see? And if you're going to use it, it'd be good to get an input from the people that are actually going to use it. So that'd be great.
Yeah, and just to be on the safe side, let's just do both ways so people can choose.
Yeah, that might work. Geez, what a couple of years. I think our best success has really just been people love when we review books and talk about them and bring rules. They're also like the hardest to do.
Yeah,
it's so
they are
hard.
the ones that takes just so much effort,
Right.
So much research, and racking Adam's brain trying to come up with some cool missions.
Yeah, that is the hardest. We'll still be doing them. Obviously, that's your favorite thing. We should probably do one soon, probably, rather than later. I mean, I am going to be flying away on 2 6-hour flights, so maybe we should think of a book to read after the recording session today, and we'll get started on that one right away. Snorri, what was your favorite episode this year? What would you say your favorite episode was during the 2015 to 2016 season of Masters of the Forge?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
There's been so many episodes that I kind of lost track of what's when.
It's all a blur to me too, dude. Like it's like
yeah. You should have asked me like a week ago. Find the favorite episode. Yeah, no, really, I can't really say which is my favorite because there's been so many.
Right. Oh yeah, I think we've gotten a lot of kind of responses from specific ones. Like folks really liked our episode on narrative objectives.
Yeah.
They really liked the idea of doing different mysterious objectives for different races and different environments.
Armies, really.
Yeah. So I think it would be really cool. I think that could really use kind of a tune-up a little bit. Maybe it wouldn't be a whole episode, but I think it might be cool to go over that supplement again and fix it up a little, you know.
I've actually, now that I've had a little bit of time to think, I think that my favorite episodes would be the Mechanicum episodes we did. Maybe not so much for the content, but it was a blast reading the books.
Yeah, those were really cool books. And I think folks really liked our Adeptus Mechanicus like trilogy series that we did. You know, like we had 3 whole episodes on that, and that was definitely a high mark in the season. Yeah, I think it really was. Same thing with the the Tau Kaoyan coverage. I think folks really enjoyed that kind of duology there, and I'm wondering if some of the more in-depth stuff tends to be our most popular, like when we actually, instead of just kind of grazing the surface of a topic, when we delve deep into the topic, that's probably got the most value for the listeners and the most interesting episodes.
Okay, so with that out of the way, I think maybe it's time to talk about what we've been doing the last couple of weeks.
What have we been up to? What have we been up to? Snorri, something smells like fire over there.
Yeah, actually, it's the smoldering ruins of my hobby enjoyment. Really. I'm just going through severe hobby burnout at the moment. I haven't touched a model or brush in probably... Well, I had a small painting session some weeks ago, but I think at least a month or so since I've had any proper work done, and really it just doesn't speak to me at the moment. I just don't feel it. So hopefully it will come back, but right now there's just too much going on for me to enjoy the hobby.
I'm sorry to hear that, dude. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. Your knowledge of the Warhams isn't going to change, even though you're not painting on models, right? So I'm glad you're sticking with it and able to help contribute to the lore portion of our discussions. I will make up for it for the both of us. I finished my Dorks army, at least for now. At least all the models I have are painted for the Demon Orcs for WAAAGH. I spent last weekend. I painted the Skull Cannon of Khorne and the unit of cultists and a Lord on Foot. Those were my last models. I have. And the week before that, I painted the boars, the last of my boars. So I have about 3,500 points sunk into WAAAGH right now. And that's what I'm going to be bringing to England with me. It's taking up a significant portion of my baggage.
Yeah.
My main carry-on is all dorks, and like a good third of my checked baggage is dorks. Yes, I am brave. I have them all in Kara multi-case, so I'm hoping that I'm going to try to do masking tape, loops of masking tape over the model cavities so that you could like see in there, but you can't, the models won't fall out. So I'm hoping that'll protect them, but we'll see. I'm taking a big risk putting my models in the hands of the TSA.
Well, I probably took all my models in my carry-on when I went to Adepticon last year. So that wasn't really a problem. The only thing the guy at the airport in Oslo was looking, I was like, what's this? And he points to something on the X-ray machine. I was like, oh, that's my Tau cruiser thing. So I just open my backpack, pick it out. I was like, yep, it's this model. He just looks at the profile, looks at the thing. Yeah, it's okay. That was the only thing they reacted to. And in the US, nothing, really.
That was a metal cruiser?
Yeah.
And the Tau ones are kind of shaped gunny, so I can see that. Kind of, if you look at it
If you ask me, it looked like a precision tool that used to measure small stuff. So, or whatever. But yeah, TSA didn't really bother with that stuff. And if you're just bringing plastic, probably won't even notice.
Right.
The only thing is the baggage handlers.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just wondering, if they open it up and open my cardboard box and models go flying everywhere and they have to stuff it all back in the box. Like I wouldn't expect them to put it back in nicely. That's what has happened to people before. They have like a box with their miniatures in it, and someone opens it and the miniatures go flying out, and then the models get stuffed back in and ruined when they put them back in. So that's
This is the same TSA that opens up a suspicious-looking package containing precision aircraft instruments, unscrews the whole box, looks inside, just shoves the cables back in, screws it up poorly, and sends it on, so that the company had to order a new box at like $15,000 or so because the TSA broke it. And of course, TSA is without fault, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can bleep that, by the way.
Yeah, and so my buddy was talking about this gentleman who has a weird instrument that's basically like as many instruments as you can get into a mono instrument, and every time he ships it, it gets ruined, and he has to build a new one. Like, these people are terrible.
Yeah.
There should be like some kind of like gentle handling baggage thing that you can buy, where it goes through somebody who's very gentle with the luggage, instead of, I don't know. I guess you could pay for shipping, but it's really expensive.
How about this novel idea? How about they just call the person whose luggage this is on the airport? They put the luggage aside, and the guy can be there standing next to them when they open it, so he can explain what it is.
Yeah.
And make sure it's being packed properly afterwards.
Yeah, that would be really good. That would be a great thing. But
because these people, if they have no idea what they're looking at, then how are they supposed to come to a reasonable conclusion about what it is?
Yeah, especially when you're paying an exorbitant fee to sit on a postage stamp for 6 hours. Right? Anyways, yeah, 40K podcast, TSA. Not complain about air travel podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might try to do some more bloodletters in the future, but for now I'm happy with what I have. I don't need to do any more Demon Orc projects for a while. Right now, I did find I wasn't going to do any hobby until I left, but I couldn't keep my hands off my models. Like, for some reason, I've got the opposite problem of you, Snorri. It's like, I can't not work on something, and I've never really had this before, so I'm going to try to harness it while I can. Maybe it was because I was trying to procrastinate working on the show notes. It always helps to have something you're trying to procrastinate, but to do something else you need to find time to do. Like, man, I really would like to paint these models, but I have to clean the house or whatever. Great way to get the house clean, But so yesterday I worked on some Storm Boys, some customized Storm Boys and stuff. I got like some of them I used some Space Marine jump packs, because all my Assault Marines I put in drop pods, so I had a ton of Space Marine backpacks. I had like one proper box of Storm Boys. Then I've had this crazy sprue of airplane bombs and fuel tanks that I bought from the hobby store years ago, and I just keep on clipping bombs and fuel tanks off of that sprue and using them for jetpacks for the orcs. So I've got another 20 Storm Boys ready to be added to my other 20 Storm Boys. Hopefully I can create or use the Storm Boys formation from the Ork from the Gazgul supplement with that.
Yeah.
It's not terribly good, but it's fun to take 3 units of Storm Boys and mush them all into one unit. I thought that would be interesting.
Here, have some orcs.
Yeah, some more orcs and more orcs. Yeah, I'm at like 16,700 or 800-ish points of painted orcs right now.
Ouch.
It's kind of unreal. It's kind of unreal.
Is
But
this an orc player thing? If it seems like orc players are more prone to having that gigantic army than other people.
yeah, it's easy to, well, like when it's Space Marines, it's like, oh, I can use this unit of tactical Marines for, any tactical Marines. Or like, oh, I need to add a guy here. Well, I'll just pull a tactical Marine out. Or it's easy to use any models for anything, whereas, orcs, it's like, well, if I want 2 units of Ludas, I need 2 units of Ludas, and there's a million dudes, so I guess I might as well go ahead and do this. Kit bashing is a lot easier with orcs. Painting is not easier, but the kit bashing is really easy, and it's easy to get a bunch of models. What's not easy is actually painting them, though. Like, a lot of orc players have a lot of models. Not a lot of orc players have a ton of that painted,
True.
So, it's nice that to have that. I really want to do a group picture soon. I'll probably wait until I have most of it painted. I'm getting really close to the end, Snorri. I have 1 box of unpainted miniatures, 1 Sterilite container with not a whole lot unpainted in it, and I'm going to give that a try before I do another big photo shoot with the orcs.
So you're just gonna pour everything on your lawn and take a picture.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to take that picture right now because it's not going to fit on a 4x8 table anymore. I think I have a big table out back on my porch, on my back patio, so I might go ahead and, like, I don't know, I might have to buy a large bed sheet to use as a backdrop for the army, and I might have to do it outside during the day when there's sun. I really think that might be what has to happen. So we'll see. The Hobby Progress Challenge is going really well. There's a lot of people. There's not like a huge amount of chat on the message boards regarding other stuff, but we've got a lot of good feedback and input on the Hobby Progress Challenge and on people's threads. I really recommend folks go in there and look at what people are doing these days. People have a really good. A lot of people are using a lot of techniques now, thanks to the podcasts and the larger community. Folks kind of mixing their airbrushing and washes and stuff, and really getting into the different techniques, and it's really helping people out. It's good to see people are embracing a lot of these techniques to improve their speed and quality. So it's good to engage there and get some really cool ideas.
Now that you had the Hobby Progress going for a few years, actually, have you done any comparison of the dropout rate between different years? I'm thinking that would be an interesting one.
We have numbers, I just haven't compared. I think by the end of this year we can see trends, and I think that's a good thing to do. I'll keep an eye out for that, because it would be interesting to see what the trends are as far as completed to not completed and stuff like that. I want to say our finished rate was better last year than it was the year before, but I don't think I think I didn't even count anybody who didn't do anything. So like anybody who made a commitment to join the Hobby Progress Challenge at the start but did nothing, I don't think I've ever counted those people. So that would be hard to do because I don't even bother with counting that. But anybody who actually started is counted. So it would be interesting to see at least that. So, but that's it for me, dude. I think that's enough anyways. Again, thank you so much to all the listeners for listening for the past 2 years. Hopefully, we can continue to deliver quality content for the 3 years to come. Always let us know what you want to see, and we'll try to work it in. We've had a few episodes this year that were completely listener suggestions, and they were good topics, so we really appreciate that input.
So basically now it is to the commercial machine.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 hour a night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke ei bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer ei bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said. Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40k club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't.
The orcs are the pinnacle of creation. For them, the greatest struggle is won. They have evolved a society which knows no stress or angst. Who are we to judge them? We Eldar who have failed, or the humans on the road to ruin in their own turn. And why? Because we sought answers to questions that an orc would never even bother to ask. We see a culture that is strong and despise it as crude. And those are the words of Uthan the Perverse, an Eldar philosopher.
It is not within my purpose to speculate on ways to combat these beasts, but to provide information to those who must. I myself am most alarmed by these findings, and never again will I mock our green-skinned adversaries, no matter how crude and seemingly stupid they are. Note, there is no evidence to suggest an orc possesses an intelligence any less than a human. Cultural styles merely dictate a more straightforward approach to problem solving and a lack of theoretical aspect and conceptualizing until completion. Genitor Major Anzion. So, there are... both of these quotes are well used. Lots of people kind of point to these quotes as being very
describing.
Well, they're
really
kind of progressive views of orcs in ways that are complementary instead of ignorant. These are very non-ignorant views of the orc society and orc physiology.
Yeah.
So obviously today we're going to be talking about kind of orc culture, or orcs in general. We're going to touch on specific orc warlords and stuff, but mainly we're going to be doing some very generic discussions on them. I think maybe in later episodes we'll talk about some of the more famous orc warlords, just as we do with any other specific faction. And then later we'll talk about the Path to Glory campaign that we've developed kind of as a response to the Chaos Path to Glory. This one will be for your WAAAGHs to do battle and find out who the biggest and the baddest is. So, but first, let's talk about some of the origins of the greenskins, Snorri.
Yeah.
There's lots of philosophies, or a lot of philosophies. There's a lot of kind of thoughts on how the orcs came to being, but there's some very the most common ones are pretty interesting in their own right.
Yeah, because the legends of the orcs are mainly passed down by the runtards. That's the orcs who tend to the future generations. Kind of like squig herders. But these orcs, they tend to actual orc babies, which is kind of scary. They speak of another intelligent greenskin caste from long ago, and they refer to them as brain boys. And these brain boys, as they're referred to, faced many powerful enemies throughout the galaxy in those early days. So they needed a powerful army to fight for them, and it is said that they created the orcs for this purpose. In so doing, they created a greenskin caste who lived to fight. Interestingly, some legends say that the Brain Boys were just as warlike as any modern orc. They just didn't have the physicality to back it up, regardless of their superior technological know-how.
And these days, the Brain Boys seem to be no more. Were they actually wiped out by their own creations? Did they contract some kind of plague, as some of the legends seem to indicate? Are they among the greenskins now? Simply devolved into Gretchen or runts? Did this disease actually turn them into the orcs we know today? No one knows, but perhaps they are out there still biding their time. So, a lot of this is conjecture on my part, to be honest, but there's a lot of stories out there, and it almost seems as if these Brain Boys really did exist, but what form they took is completely conjecture, and I think it's interesting to think that it's possible that the orcs are the Brain Boys, but just kind of changed over time for whatever reason. Perhaps because of this plague that swept over their society.
That's a good theory. So if we continue on to their biology, what we're fairly certain of now is that their technology and culture is at least to some degree coded in the DNA of the current orc species. So I was about to say hardwired, but in the case of being in their DNA, I guess it's more wet-wired. This answers a lot of difficult questions, of course, regarding how such a dull, single-minded species is able to harness powerful, though crude, technology. And, it's pretty impressive that these orcs can build a Gargant, even though they don't really understand how it's working. Yeah. They just do it. Will the Brain Boys someday reemerge from this DNA, or is this their long, sad, cataclysmic swan song? Who knows?
Yeah, and it's funny, there was an article the other day of how we are, as humans, are encoding data in DNA. There was the article had a picture of a scientist holding up a test tube, and there's this just milky substance in the test tube, like a little, like maybe 5 milliliters of this liquidy substance, and it contained like 5,000 copies of a movie. That DNA contained 5,000 copies of a human movie. So, like, you can encode thousands of terabytes in a test tube, and it keeps for thousands of years. Like, so imagine a constantly perpetuating, living library of your race's existence, like self-replicating throughout the galaxy. And that it's definitely something that seems like it could happen, and it makes sense. So orcs themselves are about the height of a man, but they are hunched and ape-like. So a standard orc boy is sinewy and powerful and easily twice the weight of a human being. And they feel very little pain, and they can live on in the face of really horrible wounds. They're not like zombies or vampires, or they're not like Wolverine or anything, but their regenerative powers are pretty incredible. Like, if the orcs win a battle, if the humans don't win and the orcs do win, it's a good chance most of those boys will live if as long as there's a pain boy there to stitch them back together from spare parts. As long as like their brains aren't totally destroyed, they haven't kind of festered on the battlefield too long, or if they haven't been reduced to ash thanks to Astartes' promethium flamer.
Yeah. And that seems to be the only way to cure a planet of an orc infestation is just like run around with flamers and just destroying everything because, you have to burn the planet more or less to just get rid of all the spores.
Interestingly...
Which is
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go.
Interestingly enough, a lot of people seem to not like most of these theories, like the knowledge being, implanted genetically, the reproduction by spores. It's all right there in the 3rd edition rulebook, and that was written by Andy Chambers, so that is freaking canon, people. Deal with it.
And do I need to repeat myself when you had your Dungeons and Dragons Gary Gygax moment talking about your orcs with Andy Chambers himself?
Yeah.
That was an interesting one. But since we're talking about orc physiology, it allows them to live almost everywhere you can think of, and they also multiply massively quick. Their bodies harbor the traits of both fungus and animal, and in addition, their bodies also possess something like an algae pulsing through their bloodstream and other systems. Is this simply a symbiotic organism? Or could this be the disease which was the downfall of the Brain Boys? We can always speculate, but we don't really know.
No, we don't. But it would be interesting, right? Imagine if this kind of algae, kind of is the disease that caused the downfall of the Brain Boys. I think it would be an interesting kind of story to tell if we ever get that kind of story from GW. So speaking of orc reproduction, it is tied directly to their lifestyle. Orcs live to fight, and fighting causes casualties. When an orc dies, it releases spores full of genetic material across the land. The spores take root and grow an orc in an underground womb. When the orc emerges with the rudimentary knowledge to find a place in orc society, use tools, and who knows, perhaps even continue the mission that their parent was on. That's conjecture right there, but why not, right? And because of their propensity for violence, orc reproduction is very successful. If it were not for the orcs' constant infighting, they would have surely conquered the galaxy by now.
Yeah. And of course, since infighting also causes casualties, they kind of self-reproduce in preparation of any WAAAGH just by fighting.
Yeah, exactly. That's why that's why that one fight between the Tyranids and the orcs will go on for pretty much in perpetuity.
Yeah. Orcs not only emerge fully formed, but they also grow really quick. The more an orc fights, the more he grows. Even thinking about or preparing for a duel will result in an orc gaining body mass. In this way, other orcs, especially the intended target of the duel, will be able to tell when a fight is coming. Cunning orc warlords will send their boys against many softer targets before pushing them into their most important fight, simply in the hopes of increasing their strength and numbers.
Yeah, Tuska did this before he sent his boys into the Eye of Terror. He pushed them into all these little fights with humans so they could grow and get stronger and smarter and be able to endure these environments before sending them into the warp. Grots are small and cunning cousins of the orcs. Their keen senses, small size, and their ability to learn quickly has given them the ability to exist alongside the orcs. Grots who do not make themselves useful to an orc master can, at least, run away and hide. Indeed, entire cultures of Gretchen have developed in the warrens of countless worlds throughout the galaxy. Grots can kind of be seen as the indentured servants of orc society. They're not quite like the peasants. They're more they're more useful to the orcs. They're they hold higher jobs in orc society, but not quite the warrior caste, that's for sure.
Just look at the example I came with earlier about building Gargants.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really have orcs keeping every single piece of the Gargant working because there might be tight spaces and everything. And of course, tight spaces mean you can just kick a grot in there and force him to do the work instead.
Exactly.
Snotlings are even smaller than the grots. And as such, they are at the low end of the pecking order. Their job in the greenskin community is to tend to the overall needs of the society. They cultivate the fungus, they take care of the squiggly beasts, or squigs, which the orcs eat. Snotlings are sometimes even used as ammunition for orc weapons. Essentially, the snotlings are the peasants of orc society.
Yes, they are a dime a dozen. Thousands will die every day in one community. They're basically the farmers of orc society. But you know what, orcs, where would orc society be without them? Honestly, they're an important part of that whole process. Squigs, which are kind of the lowest end of the totem pole, but kind of not really because they eat snotlings a lot. Squigs live in the drops, which is a colloquial term for the vast cesspits which tend to develop under or near orc communities. Poop. So what else are we going to say? It's their slurry. Snotlings and runt herds take great care to breed squigs for many different purposes. A great deal of orc culture revolves around the squig and its uses. Some squigs are for eating, also called the eating squig or the juicy squig. The juicy squig is funny because it lives... The deeper you go into the drops, the more likely you are to find a juicy squig, and the longer the juicy squig lives, the more tasty it is. So not even the snotlings go looking for juicy squigs. An orc needs to bravely find the juicy squigs and hunt them. So I'm sure a juicy squig is worth quite a few teeth. Other squigs are used in competitions, like the face-eating squig. The face-eating squig's mouth is about the same size as an orc's mouth, and the competition is to not get your face eaten by the face-eating squig. Other squigs see special use on the battlefield, like bomb squigs and squig hounds. Many other squigs are simply used for kind of mundane things, such as a bag squig, a paint squig, an oily squig, a squig pipe, which is a musical instrument, or the hair squig, which gives a normally bald orc a fine head of hair. If you see orc with hair, he has a hair squig on. It's not hair. It's not his own proper hair. Some orcs raise squigoths, which can be used as beasts of burden, or mounts, or even a mobile field base. They get very, very large, and they're quadrupedal rather than 2 feet. Pretty cool.
Do Forge World still have the squigoth models?
Yes. Yeah, you can still get those.
They are glorious.
Yeah, and with more people appreciating and accepting Forge World every day, the Squigoth is a really excellent choice for your army because it's not a vehicle, but it can still carry orcs. So we're going to move on from kind of the physical nature of orcs and start talking more about their culture and society.
And orc society is barbaric, anarchic, and warlike by imperial standards. And that's saying something, considering...
how barbaric?
Well, I wouldn't call the Imperium barbaric or anarchic, but warlike.
No, yeah, maybe not by imperial standards, but by human standards.
Oh, yeah. Orcs do love loud noises, going fast, and most of all, fighting. In orc society, the chief philosophy is might makes right. And the weakest, they exist to suffer the rule of the strong. It doesn't matter how this is achieved. For example, often it's a big, brutish war boss who dominates an orc tribe, or a war band. But sometimes a clever big mech realizes he's as strong as any war boss within the protective confines of his Morkanaut.
Yes. And he suddenly
So,
becomes the biggest and the baddest.
yeah. It's not so much about physical strength as being either a big brute or just really 10 times more clever than the big brute.
Mm-hmm. And as long as that cleverness makes you biggest and best.
Yeah, of course. Because if you're not, then you'll just be killed off because you're competition.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And one thing you'll notice is, that the kind of orc society is kind of by this tribe and warband designation. Warbands are kind of groups. I guess if you looked at it in 40K standards, your 40K list is a warband, and your 40K collection is probably more of a tribe. Though there are many thousands of boys in a warband, it's still more kind of like a single engagement type situation where the tribe is kind of an entire city or world of orcs under one banner.
And also, a warband might consist of multiple tribes.
Yeah. Or vice versa. A tribe will consist of multiple warbands.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't matter how the warlord reached their position. He's the top of the pecking order. And all other greenskins have to bow and scrape to his will until, of course, someone overthrows him. Under the warlord are other sub-bosses who command warbands. Under those sub-bosses are knobs who either command the boys as a ruling gang of elite warriors or individually within the mobs themselves, or usually both. Of course, beneath the boys are the Gretchen and then the Snotlings, who don't even really participate in the pecking order at all. Their main concern is just like not getting eaten by squigs every day.
Yeah. And it is important to note that there is no resentment for this pecking order. Everyday life is permeated by the constant struggle for power and domination. Daily life is a contest. Greenskins make a competition out of everything from squig-eating contests to buggy races and fighting pits. Needless to say, attrition is high, so it's lucky that orcs reproduce so quickly. The orcs in charge today has zero guarantee that they will be in charge tomorrow.
Exactly.
And that, okay, going back to the old fantasy at least, this is very similar to my favorite old fantasy warband or faction, the Skaven.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They will gladly backstab each other like crazy. These guys will gladly fight each other like crazy.
Nice. So, that in mind, right? When an orc actually does rise above the fray and stay in power for an extended period of time, it's a pretty remarkable event and a harbinger of a great and inevitable orc migration. When an orc warlord succeeds, his victories tend to snowball and build at an exponential rate. So, an orc star system bathed in conflict for decades, right, can kind of almost overnight, under the leadership of a single powerful warlord, suddenly find themselves united under a single purpose. When a single warlord can rise above the fray and bring together multiple tribes and lead them across the stars, this is called a WAAAGH. A WAAAGH isn't really a force organization structure or TONE or anything like that. It's more of a force of nature or an entity in and of itself, and that warlord is kind of it at its head. It's the brain of this large organism. And it's really not even loyalty that holds these orcs together. It's their biological drive for expansion and for fighting. And if this war boss is giving them this power, then why would they try to overthrow him? Right? So it's really interesting. It's really interesting how that works.
Can I just ask you one question, Adam? What is a TONE?
I forget the actual. It's. Well, I guess we could Google it. It's a phrase we used to use in BattleTech all the time. Table of organization and equipment. It's just like a military term for the stuff in your army.
So orcs can be found everywhere. They really don't care where they go, as long as there's a fight to be had. A large warband will put together space hulks, asteroids, and other debris into massive space-worthy vessels, load them with billions of orcs, and set off to find their fortune on some poor, unsuspecting world. That is glorious. The whole concept of the orc rock is cool.
Yeah, there's some...
Take a giant asteroid, put some huge space engine or spaceship engines on it, fill it with orcs, and just light the engines and hope you'll hit something at some point. In the meantime, fighting all around.
Yeah, fighting other orcs, fighting Tyranids, fighting Chaos dudes. You never know what you're gonna find on a Space Hulk.
But it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it is going to be awesome. And there's an interesting... They go into great description in the 3rd edition book about how they kind of find these Space Hulks and how they clean them out and stuff. It's really cool. Oddly enough, orcs do have a belief system. This mythology surrounds the orc gods Gork, brutal yet cunning, and Mork, cunning yet brutal. Some aspects of these gods describe them as two personalities of the same entity, but regardless, these deities are impervious to the attacks from the other gods, simply because they don't care. It may also help that the two gods have an innumerable supply of worshippers. And, you know, in the god game, your worshippers are your commodity, right?
Yeah.
And much like the factions of the Materium, perhaps it's lucky for the gods of the warp that the orcs aren't much interested in the big picture. So a very interesting kind of parallel there between orcs and human society and the orc gods and the Immaterium. Like, it's possible that Gork and Mork could run train on the other gods, but they're so busy messing around on Earth and fighting, and probably fighting each other, that they don't have to worry about it.
So, if we move on to orc technology, it is much like everything else in orc society. It's simple, effective, massively dangerous, and incredulous. One popular anecdote from Black Library novel spoke of a tech marine who opened up an orc shooter to see how it worked, and only a bunch of loose junk fell out of it. So there was no logic at all, but it did work in the hands of orcs. Orc vehicles rarely have much finesse at the controls. You're lucky if you have brakes. Usually you have two options on speed, go fast or go faster, with the possibility of a big red button, which you should almost never press. Though in the orc mentality, you're probably going to hammer that thing all the time.
Yeah. Some scholars have suggested that orc technology doesn't truly work from a mundanely technical perspective, so like it just shouldn't work. It's guessed that orc technology only works because they believe that it works. An orc's simple yet powerful belief structure has given them some kind of unique and powerful connection to the Immaterium, which simply makes things work because they believe it to be true. I like this explanation, but it's also the kind of explanation you'd expect from a highly superstitious people such as humanity. I think it's, this is almost kind of heresy, like orc heresy, like orc player heresy here, but I think it's almost as likely that the Mechanicus simply can't understand the technology the orcs use, because it's based on this unimaginably ancient and completely alien knowledge which has been passed through the orcs through their DNA. Right? So I know it's fun to think of the orcs as this purely psychic race that is capable of anything because of it, but I think it's almost as likely that the humanity just doesn't understand how the technology works. I don't know.
That kind of reminds me of a reminds me of a hilarious guardsman joke that I heard several years ago. An Imperial Guard platoon is almost at the point of being overrun by an orc attack, and they've exhausted all their ammunition. And the guardsmen look at the commissars. What are we going to shoot at them with? Because we don't have anything. Well, you shoot them. I don't care what you do, you just shoot them, says the commissar. And the guardsman just pretends that they have las rifles with working ammunition and go pew, 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 and orcs start falling. What's going on? So they pretend they have heavy stubbers. Daka, 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 daka. Orcs fall. And they're seeing orc trucks and orc tanks, and someone pretends they have a rocket launcher. Whoosh! And the vehicle explodes. And finally there's one orc left, and everyone just, hey, this is going to be easy. So they just shoot, or pretend to shoot, everything they have at this guy, and he just doesn't want to drop. And as he comes closer, they find out why. He's chanting, tank, 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 tank.
That is adorable. I love it.
As orcs fight, individuals often develop a predilection for certain aspects of orc behavior, and this is where orc society starts to emerge. These individuals will split off and join the orc clan which best fits these obsessions. Sometimes a warband will reflect one of these specific ideals, even if not every member truly feels the pull of the clan itself. It's a pretty great way to whip everyone up and give them a sense of superiority over their enemies. Even entire tribes can move in the direction of a specific clan affiliation.
The first group are the Goths, and they're what some might consider to be the typical orcs. Their tactics involve nothing more than the ubiquitous green tide. Goths send waves of boys into battle, wearing their opponents down with sheer numbers and unrelenting brutality. Goths don't just like to fight, they revel in it and see themselves as superior to other orcs because of it. Goths believe that fighting for teeth is one thing, but a proper Goth should always be willing to break faces for free. Clearly, Goths are devout followers of Gork specifically. Something tells me Goths don't really like the Blood Axes at all.
No.
We'll learn more about them in a second.
Yeah. Death Skulls, on the other hand, are considered to be expert plunderers and thieves of orc society. It often seems as if the Death Skulls fight as a means to an end, which is scavenging. These orcs are superstitious and believe that painting things blue, even themselves, will keep them from harm. And probably does work too, to a certain degree. Death Skulls are adept at looting the technology they capture and put a lot of stock in their mech boys. The clan also sports a great deal of lootus, obviously, and do not appreciate the destructive antics of the tank busters.
Yeah, what are you doing? Stop blowing everything up.
Yes, we want that. We want to put big red button and huge cannon on it.
Yeah, the Evil Sons are a clan which harbor the zealous group of orcs often referred to as the Cult of Speed. Orcs love going fast, and the Evil Sons love it above all. It's almost a religion to them. Most of these are actually kind of like sub-religions, actually. In a fight, they all either ride on their own bikes or buggies, or they pile into trucks and battle wagons en masse. They perform cavalry strikes on enemy flanks, pushing into and through them and into the next line, while boys pour out of their transports and hit the front lines like a hammer blow. Evil Sons value the color red, of course, the color which makes everything go faster.
And it's not uncommon that the red goes faster is actually blood from their victims being painted on their vehicles.
Yep.
Even by accident as they run them over.
The more I run over my enemy, the faster my car goes.
Exactly. The snake bites are a rugged and fearsome lot. They get their name from their act of allowing a venomous animal to bite them to show their toughness. They have to suck out the venom and survive its effect to be considered proper snakebite. They even bring dangerous animals to worlds they conquer so that they have something dangerous to fight. Even Tyranids.
Yeah, there's literally an orc snakebite tribe who has been spreading the Tyranid menace single-handedly in a certain area of space because they want to fight them.
That sounds like a safe way to deal with things.
I guess. So funny.
Yeah. Snakebite runt herds are expert squig trainers, and the clan makes great use of squigoths and the like. Interestingly, while the snakebite way of war is quite low-tech, they do have legions of Gretchen, who man ranks of artillery guns to soften enemy targets before the orc assault.
Yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah.
The Blood Axes are the most distrusted of all the orc clans, even more so than the Death Skulls. They've been known to engage in all manner of unorky behavior, such as planning their battles in advance, acting as mercenaries for other races, wearing camouflage,
Oh, heresy.
and outright engaging in trade with other races, including some Imperium worlds. The Blood Axes use a great deal of Imperium materiel in their battles and are somewhat regimented and cautious in their battle plans. They make use of both Storm Boys and Commandos. After all, what's the sport in getting shot up before engaging with the enemy?
Yeah. I do like the concept of the orc commandos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. They still love fighting. It's not like they're not orcs. They still love fighting. They're just like, well, why should we get shot before we fight? Let's just, you know? So I can see it. It's pretty fun.
And the last proper clan, I guess, of the orcs would be the Bad Moons. And these are the richest of all the orcs. And that is primarily because teeth are actually the currency of orcs. And the Bad Moons have an ability to grow teeth really fast. This fact may be seen as unfair in any other society, but for orcs it's simply a matter of course. The Bad Moons manage the orc economy, such as it is, by engaging in trade at all levels of orc society. Bad Moons are well-equipped and ostentatious. They are extremely boastful of their wealth and brandish gaudy yellow boss poles and banners, and they also have the most tricked-out weapons and the most bling on their vehicles.
They got the bling. Yep.
Yeah. And, of course, since they grow teeth really fast, if you're down on your luck and, need a little money, you can always just punch a couple of Bad Moons in the face and grab their teeth.
Yeah,
So it works out.
Any orc war boss worth his salt has at least one unit of Bad Moons he can mash in the teeth if he's low on cash.
Yep.
Freebooters are generally considered clanless or comprised of many clans. Some tribes don't represent this kind of atypical freebooter aesthetic, though, which is kind of this aloof band of pirates suffering from wanderlust. Some tribes are simply just a mixed band of warbands bound together for a great WAAAGH. But some bands of freebooters are quite cohesive. These warbands will zoom about the stars, raiding planets and amassing vast wealth. They're not like the Death Skulls. Death Skulls are more like kleptomaniacs, whereas freebooters are professionals. So imagine the difference between someone who's holding up a corner store and someone who robs a bank. That's the difference between the Death Skulls and the freebooters. As such, the freebooters attract wealth and the wealthy and deadly flashgits to their cause. Flashgits are basically shooty knobs with lots of money.
And finally, there's the Mad Boys and the Wild Boys. And these aren't exactly clans, but they are an interesting outlier of orc society. Mad Boys aren't quite right in the head. They wear strange clothes and carry weird possessions. This is nothing compared to their behavior, however, which can be described as erratic at best. However, orcs still hold them in high regard and consider them lucky. Even when something they do causes a plan to go wrong, orcs will usually find a way to spin the result into a lucky happenstance. Wild Boys, on the other hand, develop on backwater worlds with no technology to support them. As such, they are even more feral than the snakebites. They don't use technology, but they can easily absorb into regular orc society when they're encountered.
Yeah, even and it's funny. Like you'll notice in Wild Boy society, you'll see the clans develop inside a Wild Boy world. Like boar riders, like or whatever, or some orcs will develop a propensity for riding the local wildlife fast, and you'll see some boys whose teeth grow faster, and like the clans will actually develop inside this society, and it's really interesting to kind of see that story play out.
Yeah, and it really is because both the society and their technological understanding, to as much as you can call it that, it's in their DNA. So it's always there. They just don't see it from the get-go. They kind of have to learn it on their own.
Right. So I really love the orcs. I mean, clearly I do. I've got, like I said, almost 17,000 points painted so far. And I think that this the society that GW has developed over the years is more than a joke to them, and it's more than a joke to the people who play it. I think folks will see, maybe after listening to this episode or maybe doing some independent research, that Orc Society has a great deal more variety than you would normally think. It's a lot more serious, even though it is fun and funny and crazy. It also makes a lot of sense from an completely alien perspective. Just like the Eldar are a purely alien kind of race, and you have to think from an alien perspective. You should do the same with the orcs. Don't think of it from human terms. Think of it as this crazy race of beings who have survived for probably billions of years in the galaxy alongside the likes of the Eldar and the Old Ones and stuff, and how they've developed a way to kind of survive alongside them. I mean, they've done a great job, and they're kind of the pinnacle of life, of sentient life in the galaxy, if you think about it.
Yeah, I was thinking, was it brutal whimsy?
Brutal whimsy
is one of the things that have been used, or one of the ways they've been described. And I think it was the 6th edition codex, kind of brought some of the comedy down, or toned down the comedy a little bit, and brought up the brutal a little bit. Just to remind people that these aren't just hilarious jokers running around giggling and bashing people over the head. They are actually deadly serious, brutal monsters. Right.
And you can have fun with it. Like,
oh, yeah.
It is a fun army to play. It's a fun army to build, and it's a fun army to think about. But at the same time, they are extremely dangerous, and you should take them seriously if you're a resident of the 40K universe.
And I guess you should also take orc players kind of serious, because they, as far as I've experienced at least, orc players seem to be something of a special breed. They seem to stick out when it comes to 40K players.
Yeah.
A lot of people are pretty serious about their armies and everything, but orc players, they are both serious about their armies, but they have that orc mentality almost themselves. You can almost see it on them that these guys are orc players, because they will easily look at things and think conversion potential into something orky, and they have that kind of that giggly attitude, even though they are deadly serious about the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right, Snorri. I think an orc player, from my perspective, I mean, as an orc player and looking at the community, orc players are competitive, but orc players are also very aloof about winning, and it's they like to have fun. They're very and they don't take it very seriously, but they are still pretty competitive. They still want a competitive game. So it's a dichotomy but it's also a dichotomy that kind of exists in the army itself. That brutal whimsy that you talk about. As you're getting your face stomped, you might be laughing, but at the end of the day, your face is stomped. So
Yeah, I guess that what we're looking for is that an orc player will be happy as long as there's a good fight.
Exactly. As long as I've killed something, I really don't care. That's exactly. That is very true, Snorri. There's nothing worse than a completely one-sided battle. The points at the end could be completely one-sided. That doesn't matter. But as long as a great deal of blood was spilled, then that's fine.
Yep.
That's a very good point. So, we were thinking about talking about a bunch of the orc warlords as a kind of wrap up here, but I think in an effort to kind of spare us a little bit of time here and get everything in, I think we'll save those for another day and maybe use those as topics. Like Osgul is a topic in and of himself. The Arch Arsonist, I mean, that's a whole topic, and maybe even we're talking about the Beast. The Beast. Clearly, that's a topic we'll probably just be discussing in the future as maybe we go through some of those books. So I think we can leave it here. Take some commercials and come back and talk about Path to Glory. WAAAGH. What do you think, Snorri?
I think that's a good idea. Save some content for later.
Yeah.
Dallas-Fort Worth Nerd Night is a community organization that throws tabletop gaming parties for charity. We believe tabletop gamers are uniquely qualified to build better local communities because of the types of relationships built while gaming. If you'd like to learn more about how you can play games and help people with DFW Nerd Night, check out www.dfwnn.org. That's www.dfwnn.org. Thanks. Interested in the offbeat world of 40K? Is your bits box full of 20-year-old space elves? Have you ever searched for something out of production 40K on eBay? Well, hold on to your zotes and head over to Corsair Radio. It covers the full scope of the hobby, homebrew rules, fluff, campaigns, oddball models, and more. From Terra to the Eye of Terror, visit us at corsairradio.blogspot.com. That's corsairradio.blogspot.com.
Well, welcome back. We have for you an interesting concept. So at Christmas time, the Games Workshop digital team put together a campaign for Chaos called Path to Glory. And it was interesting. It was chaos versus chaos. So it was like very internally balanced, and you attracted followers randomly throughout the campaign. There were no points levels. It was very Age of Sigmar-y in nature. Not extremely competitive campaign. It was very interesting. And I got to thinking that kind of system would really lend itself for orc versus orc battles.
Yeah. So
I thought, that would make a really great episode 50. It's very self-indulgent, but, I thought, for 50, I think self-indulgent is fine.
Yeah.
And so basically it focuses on players playing their orc armies or even playing other people's orc armies, because as we discussed before, orc players tend to have a lot of orc models. So it's not a big deal if you just loan your models to people to play with you. And then at the end of the campaign, you find out who the leader of the WAAAGH is going to be. So it's really the focus on the warlord. So for this one, you don't use points or formations or detachments. You build your WAAAGH. Instead, you use your brutal but cunning, or cunning but brutal warlord, to gather his throngs of greenskin followers through the deeds on the battlefield rather than the math on a page. What do you think, Snorri?
I really love the concept because both for the original Chaos version and this Orc version, it really does have a place in the lore the way this is being done. The whole infighting, and you have it in one of the Black Library books. It's the first story in the Space Marines omnibus on my shelf here. There's actually a whole story about how different warbands, chaos warbands, gather in front of what's that guy's chaos pirate guy.
Oh, Abaddon?
No. The guy with the huge power claw, I think. No, wait, that's Abaddon. The Red Corsairs. There we go.
Oh, right, him. Yeah, he does have a claw. He has a claw. Yeah.
It's a story about how a lot of Chaos warbands gather in the fortress, or it's like in the HQ of the Red Corsairs, and different people are trying to gather followers for their warband, and this is done through dueling or through various kinds of just throwing slaves into a pit and like fight, and whoever wins, they just take over the loser's followers, and in this way they just make up this massive warband, and when it's big enough for them, they just like, yeah, let's go into space and kill stuff. So I really like this.
It doesn't work for all factions either.
Oh yeah.
You're really not going to be able to do this with Space Marines and maybe Imperial Guard, but not really. It's really lends itself to Chaos and Orcs.
So at the beginning of the campaign, you pick a warlord, of course. He may select allegiance to one of the 6 major clans, or he can be a freebooter. You may not select a named character from the Codex. Your warlord has to be his own named character. Other than that, any independent characters from any recent Orc rulebook is allowed. Indeed, you must come up with a proper name befitting his temperament and clan.
Right?
Your warlord may be equipped with whatever equipment is allowed for a unit of his type, so long as every detail is represented on his model. So this is very, very much WYSIWYG.
Absolutely.
If you add upgrades to your model throughout the campaign, you may change his war gear as well. If you do not take a relic, you start the campaign with 2 renown. If you take the Dead Shiny Shuta or the Fixer Uppers as your relic, then you start the campaign with only 1 renown instead.
Right. So you get a little bit of extra for not using the powerful relics.
Yeah, you've actually fought your way to the position you are when you begin the campaign without any shiny tools.
That's right. Your warlord also gets a specific special rule according to his unit type. So if your warlord is a war boss, he receives the Eternal Warrior special rule. If your warlord doesn't take like an upgrade like a bike or like mega armor of any kind, then he also gets to increase his wounds by 1. So if you've just got a regular war boss with just regular heavy armor and a power claw, he gets +1 wounds and Eternal Warrior. This helps him fight other war bosses, and just make sure that when 2 war bosses fight each other with their strength 10 power claw, they don't just both die instantaneously. If your warlord is a big mech, he gets a Prappa Cyborg body, which confers a 5+ invulnerable save and also increases his wounds by 1. So it'll be a 3-wound big mech with a 5+ invuln. If your warlord is a pain boy, he becomes a pain boss, increasing his wounds by 1, as well as equipping him with a power claw and heavy armor. So it'll be a pain boy with a 4+ save and a power claw and 3 wounds. If your warlord is a weird boy, he becomes a warp ed, which improves his mastery level by 1 and increases his wounds by 1. So you could have a level 3 weird boy with 3 wounds. You still want to keep him out of combat with anything with a very big claw, but he's going to be pretty cool buffing your units, and he'll be a little bit more survivable.
Now, you may select a warlord trait from any current Orc rulebooks, or you can roll for one on any of the generic lists. In any case, your warlord retains all traits gained through the remainder of the campaign.
Yeah, so you keep whatever warlord trait you pick, which I think that's more narrative, and I think all of our listeners tend to agree with that statement. And when we play tested this, it seemed to make total sense for the narrative. If you have a warlord and that warlord has a specific kind of idiom, then a specific warlord trait that carries on throughout the campaign makes complete sense.
And finally, you roll a random special ability for your warlord on the Orc Special Rules table, which we'll talk about in a few moments. This character you just made must be selected as the warlord of every game you play this campaign. And at the start of the campaign, your warlord will lead D3 plus 3 additional units into battle, using random tables to build your army. And this is something we'll cover also later. After all, you rarely have a choice as to who flocks to your banner.
The path to any Great WAAAGH is littered with the broken bodies of your foes. The players will play missions until a final victor is declared. As a warlord's victories mount, their renown will increase. The more renown they have, the more orcs will want to flock to their banner. The more they fail, the more ignominy they will earn. Ignominy can lead to dissension in the ranks. Keep a running tally of your renown and ignominy. So each battle you fight earns you plus 2 renown, regardless of who won or lost. If you win or tie the game, you earn plus 1 renown. If you score Slay the Warlord, you earn plus 1 renown. If you lose or tie the game, you gain plus 1 ignominy. So you basically, if you tie the game, you can get full points, either both renown and ignominy.
Yeah, so that what you just said means that if you tie a game, you get both 1 renown and 1 ignominy. Ignominy.
Yeah, exactly.
Phenomena.
Do.
Okay. When determining the army selections in your warband, roll for a unit type, then use the tables associated with your warlord's clan to determine the specific unit you get. If you're a freebooter, randomly determine the clan table you will use before rolling the unit type. Unless there are specific restrictions listed, assume that players can add any upgrades they wish for a unit except for the battle wagon dedicated transport option, unless otherwise noted. The only limits to this are that the upgrades must be modeled. Also note that boys, shoot-a-boys, and ard-boys are separate options on these tables. Again, although there are few restrictions on how you build these units, you must have the models to represent them.
Right. And at the end of every game, each player may spend any unspent renown in order to add random additional army selections to their warband or add special rules to units which survive the game. A new unit costs 2 renown, and adding a special rule costs 1 renown. So there, in the packet that we're going to be posting on mastersoftheforge.com, you'll see every clan has a specific unit table that you roll on, and it's customized for that clan's kind of modus operandi. So there's more bikes on the one for the evil sons, and there's more big mobs of boys for the goths and stuff like that. It's up to you, the player, to kind of balance things however you want. Granted, it doesn't have to be balanced for it to be fun. But if you really, if you're really turned off by, not using points at all, you can still use these tables to determine your force organization structure, and you can just use points to balance it if you really feel like it. So just keep that in mind. There's no hard and fast rule of how you should use this supplement. Now, in the spirit of fair play, the player with the least number of unit selections in their army gets to roll for their new army additions first. And any player who has less units in their army than the player with the most units gets 1 reroll during the process. So you can try to get something you want if you have less. Additionally, any player who has no flyers while their opponent does have flyers can forgo rolling for a new unit and instead just buy a Dock Jet, Burn a Bomber, or Blitz a Bomber instead. That makes sure that you don't have an air superiority race going on in your campaign.
And during your games, If your opponent has any unspent ignominy points and you have at least 2 unspent renown points, you can take over one of their units. And that kind of makes sense, really.
Mm-hmm.
When one of your opponent's units fails a morale check, you may declare the unit is defecting to your warlord instead of running away. When this happens, 1 ignominy point is spent from your opponent's total and 2 renown are spent from your total. The unit immediately and permanently joins your army. Any close combat with that unit ends, and all units involved should consolidate.
Right. Isn't that funny?
Oh, yes.
All of a sudden, someone's on your side. And I don't think it's too bad because that unit was already lost. Because it was pretty much lost because they fled. So
Yeah.
you might as well go ahead and take them over instead.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. Although you are technically spending renown points and ignominy points, always keep a running tally of how much you have collected in total, because it's going to be important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you always because the player who has the most total renown gained at the end of the campaign is the winner of the campaign. So, and gets to be the leader of the WAAAGH at the end. So some examples of these special rules, they're laid out in they're laid out in 4 tables: bosses, knobs, wagons, and lads. I'm sure you can guess, who gets those abilities. A unit can only have 1 of these special rules unless they are your warlord, in which case the warlord you can buy as many as you want for your warlord. There's a few, like the warlord can have ones like unflappable. The model is fearless. Simple. One thing that I like the most, number 7 on the 2d6, so it's the most common, is Prophet of the Clan. And there are special abilities listed for each clan specifically. So if your warlord is an Evil Sons warlord, he gets the special rule Prophet of Speed, Evil Sons. If your warlord is in a red transport or on a red bike, he adds +2 to the vehicle or the bike's movement during the movement phase. So he gets an extra 2 inches of movement.
I like
Simple,
the
fun things.
Yeah, I like the Death Skulls one,
Yeah.
Krumpen and Luton. At the end of a game, if you won, and if there's a wrecked vehicle on the table, you may spend 2 renown in order to just take it from your opponent's roster and make it your own.
I mean, you're gonna use 2 renown anyways to take a unit, but if your opponent has an awesome unit, that you want, then you might as well save your renown and steal it from your opponent instead.
And this makes me think that you really have to mark your army properly, like underneath, so that you know which is yours. And this probably should be played in the duration, this entire campaign should be played in one day, so that everyone can just pile up stuff and everyone can take their stuff home again in the evening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doing it in like a weekend or a day would be a lot of fun, and I think it's actually pretty doable. Though it gets a little crazy, actually.
Yeah.
But it's fun little things like that you can add to units that makes them unique and special. And I really like, and the special abilities are also a good way of self-balancing. If you feel like you're running away with it and you have way more units than your opponent, then go ahead and spend your renown points on special rules instead of new units. You'll get a little bit of a benefit for winning, but at least you're not piling on the numbers more than your opponent is. It's a great way of balancing things while still giving yourself some kind of benefit.
Yep.
All right. Cool. You want to take a quick break? Allow Jason to slip in some of our new commercials, and then we can come back and go through the missions.
Yep. Right. Jason, commercial time, please. Make us some money.
Wait, what?
Exactly.
Transmission incoming from the Adeptus Terra podcast. A new monthly UK-based 40K podcast has come into the universe, based around the hobby as a whole and the rich background of the 41st millennium. If you're looking for a fun, chilled-out podcast focusing on the fluff of the 41st millennium with tricks and tips on taking part in the hobby, then why not give us a listen? You can find us on iTunes and Facebook as the Adeptus Terra Podcast. You never know, you might just like it. Message ends. Are you looking for a good hobby blog? Are you in need of a tutorial? Maybe you just want some inspiration to help you get started. Well, look no further than the 40K Hobbyist. Drew is a 40K hobby veteran with more than a decade of GW hobby experience under his belt. Follow one man's journey through the hobby as he dabbles in new experiences such as Forge World Titans, building terrain tables, starting new Space Marine chapters, and much, much more. Stop in for modeling tips, tutorials, bits theory discussions, and just to see some darn cool models. If you have any questions, you can always email him, leave a comment on his blog, or reach him through Facebook. He's always willing to do whatever he can to help expand the hobby and make you feel the best painter that you can be. Stop in and check out the 40K Hobbyist at 40khobbyist.blogspot.com. That's 40khobbyist.blogspot.com, or find him on Facebook.
Well, now that that's taken care of, we can go into the Path to Glory WAAAGH missions. We have a little business to take care of before we actually talk about the missions themselves, because there are some rules that apply to all the missions. In all of these missions, we do players rolling off to see who decides to deploy first, and the player deploying first also goes first unless their opponent concedes the initiative. Most of these games use variable game length and night fighting and reserves and Orksterious objectives. I hope that you can imagine what Orksterious objectives are.
Missed Orcius objectives?
Yeah. I'll probably end up replacing the mysterious objectives for orcs in our other supplement about a narrative mysterious objectives. These are a little more fleshed out. Number 1 is Squig Ale. This barrel of booze is hard for orcs to resist. An orc unit must roll a die at the start of the turn if they are holding this objective. On a 1, the unit may not move in the movement phase and shoot at BS1 in the shooting phase. This is because they're drinking and they're not really paying attention.
And they're probably hammered.
Number 2 is Nothing. Nothing. There ain't nothing there.
Nothing.
Has no special effect. Number 3 is Red Paint. An orc vehicle holding this objective adds 2 inches to its movement in the movement phase.
And number 4, more DACA, of course. An orc unit holding this objective may reroll any random effect of their shooting, such as strength of a shock attack gun or the number of shots for a Lutus, and in addition, they may reroll ones to hit when shooting, because, they have tons of ammo. Mm-hmm. Then there's the reverse polarity grav wave generator. I'm pretty sure this is a malfunctioning Tau grav generator that has been, tinkered with. Mm-hmm. Any unit holding this objective adds 2 inches to their charge distance to a maximum of 12 inches. Any model within 6 inches of this objective move 2 inches directly away from it at the end of the turn. So it's constantly trying to repel people.
Yeah, that was Snorri's idea. That was a really good idea, Snorri.
Yeah, I like that one. Then number 6 is a teleporter node. If your orc unit is holding this objective, you may, in your movement phase, remove them from play. Then you may immediately attempt to deep strike them within 6 inches of any other objective. Before you do so, roll a die. On a 3+, the orcs may risk the deep strike. On a 2, nothing happens. And on a 1, your opponent gets to pick a spot within 6 inches of an objective instead. In either case, you must be able to legally place the unit if an on-target is rolled. If not, a different location must be chosen.
You basically can't intentionally cause someone to mishap before scattering, which I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was funny. Taylor is the fellow who helped me playtest this. He's fairly new to our club, but he's an avid Ork player, and he has the right mentality for this campaign. So it worked out really well. He used Ludas for the first time during our game, and they happened during one of our games, and they happened to be sitting on the more DACA objective. Poof, poof. That does real good work. Being able to re-roll the number of shots and then re-roll ones is pretty good. It's pretty sweet.
Yep.
And what's funny is one of my games, one of my objectives was next to my big Emperor fuels tank, and it ended up being the squig ale objective. So basically, it's a giant tank full of squig ale.
An endless supply.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. And finally, we have one general rule, which is Carnage. And this secondary mission objective replaces First Blood. The first player to kill an enemy unit during the assault phase scores 1 victory point. If their opponent also kills an enemy unit in this or the subsequent assault phase, they also get to score 1 victory point. So it's a little bit of a balance to First Blood. It's not just kill whoever kills the first one, but the opponent actually gets to equalize if they're lucky.
Mork does not care from whence the blood flows.
Exactly.
Corn. What?
And of course, it's in the spirit of orcs, because as long as there's bloodshed, they're happy.
Right. So mission number 1 is called A Misunderstanding. As with many conflicts, this campaign began with an accident and a misunderstanding between several factions. An influential Big Mech gifted the war boss with a powerful shielding device, which he insisted would protect anyone against bombardment shells. Everyone hates bombardment. What kind of fight is it when you can't even see your foe? When the war boss activated the shield during his last battle, he was instantly turned inside out and caught fire. The blood-curdling screams coming from the pile of offal was both unsettling and amusing. Of course...
That is so orky.
It hurts so much. Why am I on fire?
And also the other guys just looking at the thing was like, oh, that does not look too funny, but actually it is kind of funny.
Funny. Of course, this immediately sparked a fight between the two forces, regardless of the enemy on the other side of the battlefield. While the bulk of the Ork forces overran the Imperial Guard positions, the generals fought amongst themselves behind their own lines.
So for this mission, we have Dawn of War deployment, and the first mission is played on a 4x4 battlefield, representing the close orientation of the two forces. Take turns placing at least 6 pieces of terrain in an equitable manner. The player deploying first picks their table side. Place objectives 1 through 4 in all 4 corners of the battlefield 12 inches from either table edge. Then both players may choose to place 1 objective each in their own table half, starting with the player who's deploying first. So, mission special rules for this one is Opportunity Knocks. Remove the Hungry for Glory tactical objective from the tactical objectives deck, and when you score this objective, do not discard it. So this is always in play.
Yes.
The scoring is Maelstrom of War. So at the beginning of each turn, the player must draw tactical objectives until they have 3 in play. Note that the Hungry for Glory tactical objective counts as one of these 3. So you just pull 2 cards instead of actually drawing 3. Mm-hmm. You score victory points throughout the game based on how many tactical objectives you achieve. Then there's Assault the Enemy Bunker. Objectives 5 and 6 are worth 3 victory points at the end of the game. And of course we have Carnage, Slay the Warlord, and Linebreaker, all in play for 1 victory point each.
Right, so we're really talking about a very cramped battlefield here with 6 objectives in a 4x4 battlefield, and it's got a lot to do with these two forces that were allies just a moment ago, kind of taking over the other's resources and killing each other as they go. The Hungry for Glory tactical objective is the one where you issue challenges. So you're really kind of trying to vie for position right off the bat because the war boss died. So mission 2 is loot, loot, loot. After the remaining Imperial Guard are stomped flat, the orcs begin to fight over the spoils of war. They know it won't be long before the power struggle escalates into a worldwide conflict pitting clans against one another. It is important to claim as much territory and resources as possible in the nascent stages of the war. So for this one, we're going to do hammer and anvil to make people kind of drive around the battlefield, which is on a 6x4 battlefield, and that'll be true until the end. You place a large ruin in the center for this one, and then take turns placing at least 8 more pieces of terrain in an equitable fashion. The player deploying first picks their table side. For the objectives, you place objective 1 in the center of the table. The player deploying first places objective 2 exactly 12 inches from objective 1. The other player does the same with objective 3. So, and then the player deploying first places objective 4 exactly 18 from objective 1, and the other player does the same with objective 5. So they're kind of both placing objectives kind of circular around the main of the objective 1. And then at the end, the player deploying first gets to place objective 6 24 inches away from objective 1. Kind of like rotating out from the center, trying to make sure to kind of focus on that center location.
Yeah. Mission special rules for this one is loot, loot, loot. At the beginning of each player's turn, before drawing tactical objectives, each player can remove one of the following objective cards from their deck. That is card number 21, 22, or 23. And this one card is put into play permanently. Adam, which objectives are these?
Those are the scoring objectives. So those are, no matter what deck you're using, those cards are score objective 1, 2, or 3. So based on how we place these objectives, objective 1 is in the center of the table, and objectives 2 and 3 are all exactly 12 inches away from that. So it's kind of forcing people to go for the center objectives and kind of hold them. Mm-hmm. So it's forcing you to not only hold objectives, but also fight over them.
In addition, the player may decide which Orksterious objective to use for the objective number indicated on the card they chose, instead of rolling for it. So if you have to take objective 2, you can make that a Mordaka objective.
Yep, exactly.
If both players choose the same objective number, then that objective has the benefits of both chosen Orksterious objectives.
Right. So if you both choose objective 1 in the center of the table, then by all means, it counts as both.
Yep. For scoring, we have the usual Maelstrom of War. At the beginning of each player turn, the player must draw tactical cards until they have a number of tactical objectives in play equal to the turn number plus 1. So on turn 1 they have 2 cards, turn 2 they have 3 cards, etc.
It's kind of like tactical escalation, where
Yep.
the more loot you loot, the more loot you're looking for.
Yeah. You score victory points throughout the game based on how many tactical objectives you achieve. The following tactical objectives are worth 2 victory points instead of 1. That is tactical card number 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. So that's the objective scoring cards.
Yes.
And of course, we have Carnage in play, also Slay the Warlord and Linebreaker, all for 1 point each.
Exactly. So for that mission is pretty fun. It kind of forces a big scrum in the middle, even though it's objective based. So it's really interesting game to play. So mission 3 is called Clan Honor, and this is one of my favorite missions of the campaign. In an effort to gain favor with his clan's base, your warlord has hatched a plan to show them who's da boss. During the forthcoming battle, it is your warlord's goal to prove himself a worthy member of his clan. The deployment is Dawn of War. The objectives are, they start with the player deploying first. They take turns placing objectives number 1 through 6, and the first one is placed in your opponent's deployment zone. The second one you place must be at least 18 inches from the table edge, and the last objective must be placed inside your own deployment zone. So, you basically take turns each placing one in your deployment zone, you're in no man's land, and then in your opponent's deployment zone.
Mm-hmm. And for special mission rules for this one, we have clan objectives. At the beginning of your first turn, before drawing tactical objectives, remove one objective from your deck based on your warlord's clan. This objective is never discarded after you score it. This mission assumes both players are using the Ork tactical objectives.
Yes, and those are available. Those are available both in card form and also in your Orcs Codex. So you can always kind of just keep a list there. I also everybody just dropped to your radio real quick here. Let me whisper into your ear. It may be that I have written a computer program that is available online, which can excuse me, a computer program online which can be used to draw tactical objectives and score them, which includes the Ork deck and many others. Just send me a message or an email, and I'll give you the link to that application.
Okay. So, back to the objective cards that you take out, and can you play them, or can you score them multiple times, or is it just like a one time?
Yeah, you can just keep on scoring it.
Okay, good. So, if you play a Bad Moons affiliated warband, then you remove number 11, which is Mordaka. If you play Blood Axes, you remove number 45, which is Supremacy. Actually, I'm just not going to do the numbers. I'm just going to do Mordaka and such.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Bad Moons, then you take out Mordaka. If you're Blood Axes, you take out Supremacy. If you're Death Skulls, it's Grab the Loot and changes...
Grab the loot
okay.
is a fun one. It's basically grab an objective, but it's always a random objective whenever you use it.
At the beginning of every turn that you play, you change the objective that you want to score. For the Evil Sons, it's More Speed, Go Faster. For the Goths, it's Hungry for Glory. For the Snakebites, you take out Stomp 'em Boys. And for Freebooters, you may choose any of the 6 cards, and you roll randomly.
That's right. It's funny. That random version was an idea that was suggested by Taylor when we played the game. So that was a cool one because he's playing the freebooters in our version of it, and he's like, "I'm just gonna roll." I'm like, "Well, yeah, duh. Of course you're gonna roll."
So finally, we have the scoring. We're talking about Maelstrom of War. So you always draw. So you have 3 cards in play, including your clan objective. And a player's clan objective is worth 1 extra victory point during this mission.
Mm-hmm.
You have Carnage, Slay the Warlord, and Linebreaker all in play for 1 victory point each. You also have a special scoring because you have greatly impressed the lads of your clan. So for every 5 victory points that you score rounded up, you win 1 additional renown. So if you have 13 victory points at the end of the game, you get 3 renown points,
right.
Because 13 rounded up to the nearest 5 is 15.
That's right. And by the 3rd mission, everybody should kind of know what they're doing, and they should be used to all the renown and adding units. So I figured by the middle of the campaign, it would be good to have a mission where you just gain a whole bunch of renown and add a whole bunch of units and kind of speed things up a little bit. So I thought that was a good idea. Mission 4 is Cracking Skulls. Even the Blood Axes agree it's high time to get stuck in and break some bones. Crump some wagons. Orc stuff. So both armies meet on the field of battle with extreme bloodlust in their hearts and a red glee for combat in their eyes. The deployment is Vanguard Strike. For the objectives, you simply place 6 objectives. Just take turns placing 6 objectives. And the special mission rules are the same. Orc Exterius, objectives, night fighting, and reserves.
For scoring, we again, we have Maelstrom of War, but this time, it's a battle of attrition. And as the battle grinds on, the chance for glory diminishes. Each player draws 6 tactical objectives at the start of their first turn, and at the beginning of each player's subsequent turn, the players draw up to a minimum number of cards, one less than the previous turn, until on turn 6 you only draw 1 card.
Right. So if you have on turn 2, it would be 5. So if you still have 6 objectives, you can keep them. But if you have like 3 objectives left, then you only draw up to the 5.
Yep. There's maximum brutality. The following tactical objectives are worth double victory points for this mission, and those are Get 'em Boss, there's Stomp 'em Boys, there's Blood and Guts, and No Prisoners. In addition, any Annihilation objective, which is cards number 61 through 66, are also worth double victory points.
So basically anything having to do with destroying or killing anything is worth double victory points.
Yeah, because now things are really serious.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Carnage, Slay the Warlord, and Linebreaker in play, again, 1 victory point each. And a couple of additional rewards. By the end of this mission, the warlords have become increasingly experienced and formidable. Players may add an additional random special rule to their warlord.
Woohoo! Yeah, just make them more unique and more awesome.
Yeah.
Number 5 is Overrun. The armies have begun to engage each other over vast swaths of territory across the world. The planet has truly become overrun with greenskins, so that the previous human population is naught but a memory. Your warlord is determined to dominate this world and bring the rest of the rabble to their knees. Deployment is Hammer and Anvil. Objectives are place 1 objective in the center of the battlefield. Place 4 other objectives, each equidistant between the center objective and each corner of the battlefield. So basically put your tape measure on the corner of the battlefield and measure it to the center objective and place an objective in between. And do that for all 4 corners.
Yep. For the scoring, we have objective scoring. You get 6 victory points for holding the center objective at the end of the game, and you get 3 victory points for each of the other objectives. You also have to hold the line. You get 1 victory point for each of your units which were not destroyed by the end of the game. So here it really is about defensive and having huge numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and of course we have Carnage, Slay the Warlord, and Linebreaker for 1 victory point each.
Yeah, Hold the Line is one that's tough to balance when you're just playing a one-off game, but in a campaign where everybody's going to generally have about the same number of units, it's not too bad.
Yep.
So that's kind of that mission was very much about, like you were saying, like going forth and taking a lot of territory and trying to survive and hold your position. Mission 6 is Ascension. This is the last Orc versus Orc mission of the campaign, and it's time for your warlord to rise to the occasion and take the reins of the next great WAAAGH. The great greenskin armies of this fallen world clash one last time before the victor leads them to greater conflicts amongst the stars. Deployment is Vanguard Strike. The special mission rules for this one, there's just one other than our usual ones, and that's called Warlord's Destiny. This battle does not end until a victor has been crowned. The game ends at the end of a turn in which a warlord is slain. However, if both warlords are slain in the same turn, both players select a new warlord and the game continues. These new warlords do not select new warlord traits or special rules. Scoring. Bloodshed. Score 1 victory point for every orc you kill. So every orc model is worth a victory point. Entire squads of Gretchen, although, are only worth 1 victory point. HQs are worth 13 victory points. Trucks are 7. Any other vehicle units are worth 15. And the warlords are worth 50 victory points each. So it's very much just eliminating models. Again, something you probably kind of couldn't do in any other campaign, but since it's all orcs versus orcs, then this fits perfectly.
Yep. And finally, we have mission number 7. One warband, whether under the command of its original warlord or not, has stood above the rest on the field of battle, and it is now time to venture into the wilderness of deep space in search of some proper fighting. In this mission, we bring together all the orc armies which fought during the campaign under one banner on the same side of a conflict against a rival force. For the orcs, the player whose army amassed the most renown points win the right to command the WAAAGH, and their warlord is the designated warlord in Mission 7. And the other players must do this warlord's bidding. All the orc players tally up their points, adding 15 points for each orc special rule in their army. The warlord also gained Gaskell Thraka's Prophet of Gork and Mork special rule for this mission. So, yeah, we really have created another Gaskell here.
That'll make their save an invulnerable save during the game.
Yeah. The opposing force should consist of as many players and as many points as the orc side. In the spirit of fair play, the opposing force should be unbound except that troops are objective secured. Also, the opposing force should not bring any super heavy vehicles or gargantuan monstrous creatures. In addition, try to create a fully cohesive opposing force that makes sense from a thematic perspective.
Right.
The forces in play will likely total about 2 to 2,500 points per player, and for this reason, the players may wish to schedule this as an all-day event with a lunch break.
Yeah. So
really just an apocalypse
basically
without super heavies.
Yeah, apocalypse-sized without any of the crazy apocalypse rules. So the deployment for this is Dawn of War. Keep it simple. The battlefield is played on an 8x4 table for up to 6 players. Maybe go up to 10x4 for 8 players. You take turns placing terrain in an equitable manner, and the army deploying first picks their table side. For the objectives, you'll need 2 sets of objectives numbered 1 through 4. The armies take turns placing their number 1 objective in their own deployment zone, their number 2 objective inside the enemy deployment zone, their number 3 objective at least 8 inches outside of their own deployment zone, and their number 4 objective at least 14 inches outside their own deployment zone. So the idea is that you'll have 8 objectives numbered 1 through 4 scattered all over the battlefield.
The special mission rules for this mission is Orc Stereos objectives, night fighting in reserves, as always.
Oh, poor Space Marines having to use Orc Stereos objectives.
Yeah. I wonder how the squig ale works on Space Marines.
I don't know. They have an iron constitution, don't they?
I think we found a bit of a
loophole here.
Yeah. Well,
maybe you know what? Narratively, I don't think it would work on them. They wouldn't even bother drinking it.
Anyways, the scoring for this one is objectives. So at the end of each game turn, armies score victory points equal to the objective numbers they are holding. So if you hold objective 4, then you get 4 victory points. You have kill points, so you score 1 victory point for each enemy unit that is destroyed at the end of the game. There is hold ground, where you score 3 victory points for each objective that you hold at the end of the game. And, of course, Slay the Warlord, which is worth 15 victory points.
Yeah, it's worth a lot of victory points, so
yeah,
that's very important. If your warlord's gonna die, you better die like challenging the other warlord or something.
Yeah.
So
I guess
that's it. This
is really, yeah. I think this is really orky in a way because if you're playing Imperial Guard here, trying to defend something. If you finally take the war boss down, you should be celebrating.
Oh yeah, you've stopped the WAAAGH in its tracks, basically, which is important. I've been having fun playing this campaign. I think I'm going to try to see if I can have Taylor on in a future episode to discuss the the campaign and how it went and how, the fun we had. It'll probably just be another Ork episode. Maybe we'll try to get another Beast Arises book read or something for that episode. But anyways, I had a lot of fun putting this together, and thanks for your help, Snorri.
You're welcome.
I think we'll take a break, and we'll come back, do the outro, and call it an episode.
Yep. Can we even call this thing an episode?
Orkisode?
Yeah, okay.
At the It Will Not Die podcast, we focus on narrative gaming that brings your tabletop to life.
Join us every 2 weeks for campaigns, reviews, and interviews from around the world and across the hobby.
And remember, it doesn't matter how you love the hobby.
Just do it.
Nailed it.
In the Lincoln, UK area and looking for a game club? Head down to Gobsticks. We are a long-established game club that meets every Thursday from 6 to 10. Fancy staking your claim to the Xanatos system and discovering ancient Mechanicus tech in our 40k narrative campaign? Or taking your Blood Bowl team to glory in the Gob Stick-Up? We play 40k fantasy, Blood Bowl, War Machine, Hordes, Malifaux, a wide variety of role-playing games and more. For more information, including how to find us and to speak to our members, head over to Facebook and search for Gobsticks, GOBSTYKS, or head to gobsticks.co.uk.
Well, now that we've taken care of those important words from our not sponsors, the time has come to say goodbye and talk about, you know what, let's forgo the whole go see us on our things and the things that we have. I mean, everybody knows we have Facebook. Everybody
Exactly.
knows we have Twitter. I still want to say, hey, go to mastersoftheforge.com, because that's where you'll find the supplement for the Path to Glory WAAAGH supplement. So definitely want to go there to find that.
Yep. And also, I guess we could just say that if you don't know what we're talking about right now, just listen to our previous episodes.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I do have some things coming up that I'd like to talk about. On May 21st, 2016, Flipside Gaming will be having another tournament. This will be another ITC ranked 1,500 point 4-game tournament. We start at 8:30 in the morning and we go till about 8:30 at night. So it's a real slobber knocker of a day and really tests your mettle. And you can find information about that at Flipside Gaming Warhammer 40k.blogspot.com. You can also search to find either Flipside Gaming or our club's group, Upstate Honor Guard, on Facebook, and you can get a hold of us there. I really hope that we fill up real quick. We have an online registration, and the more people that show up, the more points you get for the ITC. So please do sign up quick. I guess that's it for my side of things. I'll be going to England in 3 days, Snorri. This episode will release while I'm away, and I hope to meet some of the listeners that we have while I'm in England. I know that some folks are going to be coming out to meet the podcasters in certain situations. I'll be at Salute. I really hope that hope we have a good time. I hope the plane doesn't die in a burning fireball of death while on my way there. So. Yeah,
and I'm so jelly. You're going to meet the ICs and the Overlords, and I don't get to join.
Oh, yeah. No, I really feel bad that you're not going to be there, Snorri. We got and Blake and Ed is going to be there too.
Yeah, totally forgot those.
Oh
guys.
yeah, they're going to be there. They did they finished their non raffle fundraiser. congratulations to the winners of that. I recused myself from prizes because reasons. Podcaster probably shouldn't win podcaster prizes.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, we're gonna have a great time. I'll tell everybody the itinerary. Might as well while we're here. It's gonna be Wednesday. I fly out. Thursday I fly in. Hopefully, I still have a butt after sitting on a postage stamp for 6 hours. Then that night is going to be kind of like a free night. Friday we're going to go on like an England tour with some cool fun things. Saturday is Salute, and we're going to go to a bar after, or a pub after Salute. Sunday is Overlord's Day. I have a game planned earlier in the morning with our buddy Inquisitor Steve. Probably gonna go over to his place and play a game or something. Then the Overlords is gonna host a game that day at 2:00, and I think we might be recording something after that. I'm not sure.
That will be at the Overlords Club?
Yeah, at the Scout Hut. And then Monday and Tuesday, Monday we go to Nottingham, and I'm going to bring my dorks there and try to show them off and play some games. Tuesday is going to be like an all-day gaming at Warhammer World, and I'm sure we'll do Ye Olde Trip to Jerusalem once or twice while we're there. Yeah. And then Wednesday, Carl and I and whoever else is leaving around the same time are going to hop on the train and go back to London in the morning and fly back home. So that's what we're doing, and hopefully I meet some of you folks there.
And I just have one little travel tip for you, Adam.
Uh-huh.
While you're in the UK, don't have your wallet and passport stolen.
Okay, I won't do that.
Yeah, because from personal experience, it sucked.
Okay. I usually put my wallet in my front pocket, so I'll keep it there instead of leaving it out. My passport, on the other hand, I have a portfolio for my England trip, so I'll either keep the portfolio handy or I'll keep it in my bags until I absolutely need them.
Yep. Well,
I'll do that. I'm bringing a suitcase, a rolling suitcase, a carry-on, and like a handbag. I'm bringing a lot of bags, which I guess, from what I understand, is kind of annoying for the train ride, but I'm not going to not bring orcs, so that's just the reality of the situation. Sorry, that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, well, trains in the UK are pretty good, so there's plenty of room to have huge cases. As long as you don't take the super maxi size suitcase, it will be easy to put it either on the luggage rack above you or in those luggage racks at the end of the train cars. So don't worry about that.
I would assume I could just check a bag. It's not a big deal. Take an extra 5 minutes to check a bag, whatever.
Yeah, well,
anyways,
what I was thinking was right next to the doors you have these luggage racks. Like not in the main compartment, but just like at the end of the compartment.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
I
that's
see
a possibility.
Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I guess we'll be back in a couple weeks. I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about, but I know what we're going to be doing until then, Snorri. What is that?
At least you're going to play the game the way you want to, because I don't really see myself playing that many games in the near future. But I'll see if I can get a friend over someday and play a game just to, dust off the cobwebs of my Warhammer knowledge and gaming skills.
Sounds good, buddy. All right, everyone. Thanks.
See ya. The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com.
Thank you.
tickle. Stop.
Yes.
Cultural light. Blah.
Because the legends that the orcs mainly passed down by the Runtard are there.
Yeah, and to this and blah. Damn.
Oh, right. I was actually reading my the end of my part, and the waiter was like, "Yeah, and are you going to talk about the Cataclysmic Swan Song?"
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, we can discuss a little bit. Like, okay. So, edit point.
Snotlings are sorry. Okay, Jason, please include that.
No, that leads us to orc technology. It's pretty much like everything else in orc society: simple, effective, dangerous, and
Do you kind of skipped one?
yeah. Whoops.
Whoops. Let me. There we go. This bit.
Got it.
Yeah.
So stuffy.
Okay, scratch that entire thing and just do only a bunch of loose junk fell out of it. Cut what I just said.
I like what you just said.
Yeah, but okay, it's being repeated here.
Then don't read it.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
fine. You can skip it.
Yep. Okay, so scratch that entire scratch that and
Scratch the scratch.
yes. So now, soon we'll have a bunch of scratch and sniff here. In the direction of a spiffy.
Yeah, the first among these are the Goths. They're kind of what some might be the. They've been known to engage. The blood axes are a great deal blah blah. They make use of both snorm boys.
Yep. And we have okay, so
there is quite a bit of finesse, or I guess finesse isn't the right word. There's a great deal of no, sorry, dude. I need to think of the word.
What are you looking for?
A second here. It's like finesse, but not finesse. It's like
it's when you
like diversity, variety. I don't know. All right. Well, I'll try to use variety instead.
Board.
We're so good at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 Albany, 2 Albany, 3 Albany.
Did you see that video I posted of the Count singing? It's so good.
No,
you're not on Facebook very much anymore. It's like
no.
it's a song. It's a song basically about how he loves to count, except every time he uses the word count, they bleep it. So I love to bleep every day. I bleep all the candles on the mantle. I bleep. It's good. Anyways, all right. Back to the.
How long ago was this? There we go.
couple
No,
of
that
weeks.
was a rocket launch.
About a week ago, a few days ago. Are you gonna watch? It's pretty short. You can watch it.
Oh, there we go. The count censored. Oh crap. That comes out in the wrong headphones. Okay, I'll look at it later.
Okay.
There we go. Another minute, 15 minutes of a minute 15 seconds of just us talking crap.
Yeah. Did you know?
Yeah.
Did you see Jason's comment that like the outtakes were 4 times as long as the outro last week?
Did we have that many outtakes?
Yeah, we had 8 minutes of outtakes.
I need to grab that show and actually listen to it, if only for the outtakes.
Right? Okay. All right. Path to Glory.
This character must be selected from the war. And at the start of the campaign, all.
The more they fail, the more ignominy. Yes. The more they fail, the more ignominy they will learn.
Unless, of course, otherwise. Oh, sorry. Unless something else is. Cord. That was pretty
That
hilarious.
was really bad. All right. Thanks, Witten. Well, now that that's over, your warlord is determined to dominate this world and hold the rest of the rabble to their knees.
Bring.
God.
That makes sense from any. Oh.
Oh, Jesus. Oh. Sorry, I just blew like buckets of egg smell into my own face. It is horrible.
You burped a fart?
No, I farted a fart. Okay. Outro.
Oh.
Okay, that was very simultaneous. I like it. All right.
Yeah, maybe it's because of my 300 megabit symmetrical line.
You can eat a big fat dick. Okay. We are doing the 1 hour a night commercial recording. We've made some adjustments because we can't help but mess with things. So
Yeah.
All right. And here we go. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval, of course. Of course? No. No, you just cut that out.
Just do the blood thing again.
Okay. It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.